live. There we are. And awesome. So you might be watching this on catch up. If you are, this is the monthly live. So we do this at the beginning of every single month. And the idea is just to interact with you guys, tell you a bit of behind the scenes things and different things, so I can have a chat with you all. So hopefully you can all enjoy it. And I'm just going on my phone now to quickly share this so we get a load of people on and we can have a good time doing that. So just bear with me while I quickly whack it on Facebook and Instagram, and then we'll be off to a good start. So there's a bit of all sorts going on for this next year, obviously. So I'd like to start by saying Happy New Year to everybody. If you've not watched this week's video, I do recommend you do after watching the live, or after watching as much of the live as you want to. We looked at some of the birds that we're going to be keeping for the breeding season of this year, so 2022 breeding season. So it'll be interesting. There's a couple of really nice birds on there as well. Just bear with, guys. I'm just literally sharing this. The greenies are looking great. There's a particular cock greenie that you'll have seen in that video if you have watched it. The colour is really good for the size of and the size of the bird. It's carrying a bit too much weight, but other than that, it's a really nice bird. I'm looking forward to trying to breed off that. I think it'll be a good bird to breed off. I think that it'll give us some good birds in for the future. Obviously, the thing is that I'm working with 5 pairs of greenies this year. The cocks are we've got 3 brothers we're working with, the father of those 3, and an outcross. So it is quite close with the greenie cocks. For the hens, we've obviously got them from 3 lines, so it's not as bad. But I think if I can't get another pair in this year, which is what my plan is I would like another pair. But we're going to do 5 pairs, but it's end up where I sell another pair on, which I was going to keep. I always make sure I've got more than enough. So if some plan doesn't go through picking something up, I've got something in its place. And that's the same for that special pair of birds I told you about over the past few weeks, and we mentioned in the last live. Still, all fingers crossed, going ahead, and we should be getting we should be getting them. I'm not going to tell you what they are yet, but if it doesn't happen, then we've got birds that we can put in the flight they were going to breed in. And just as a bit of a hint, is that these birds have got to have their own flight because of what they're like in the breeding season. So just something to be aware of there is that, and if you can work it out from there, then that's brilliant. Just bear with, guys. Again, I'm just literally sharing this on Instagram and Facebook, so we get a good number of people on it. And what obviously I've only just I mentioned it 2 days ago, and just assume that it's on every the beginning of every month, unless I tell you otherwise. And yeah, and hopefully all going, all good like that. So it's all right. And I'm going to quickly just put in the chat. So there was questions about the fundraiser. We've done the fundraiser and it's not finished for Paul Meek. It ends in 2 weeks' time on the 15th of January. And that's for Paul. Paul had a lot of birds nicked, 6.5 grand's worth, 81 birds in total there. And we started a fundraiser, and in a few days we raised just over 1,200 quid. So it's quite a good turnaround there. I'm really pleased with it, and I just want to try and keep that coming as much as possible. I know quite a few people have donated, and I'm going to pop that in the chat. So rather than donate to me, unless you do want to donate directly to me through the super chat option of this live stream, then you can donate to that if you want to. It's just to try and help Paul out and just do a good thing there. And hopefully, I'm sure Paul, I know Paul very much appreciates it. So there we are. I'll just whack that in the chat. And if you want to. So yeah, but that's it. um, for um, from that. So yeah, there's a bit of all sorts really going on this year. It should be quite good. I hope it is. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what we have on this year. Oh, good looking at the comments. Sorry, I've missed that. Offie Matrix, hi, Offie. KM Fazar, hi. When you start breeding your canaries, hi mate. So we start breeding the canaries. I mean, I've not even separated them out at the moment. We've got all cocks and hens together. I do need to separate them out, and I'm probably going to do that earliest this weekend. So yeah, it is important that I do that. So it will be earlier than the natives. The canaries are generally ready earlier anyway. I know a lot of guys do keep them on light, artificial light, and they breed them from about Feb to February. To March onwards. So what you get is that the birds are bred and they're all molted out by the time you get these first shows in October, I think, for some of the canaries, and then usually by December, I think a lot of the canary shows are finished. That's it. There's no more canary shows until the following year. With the natives, it's obviously a bit different. So we'll be pairing the canaries beginning of March. So it's 8 weeks away yet before the canaries are paired. What I'll do is I'll pair them, probably just not put any nests in for a week or two because I want to make sure they're all right. And I don't want to start them too early and it mess them up. I did notice that this past year gone with the red poles. The thing is with the red poles is well, it's a lot of captive birds is that they're ready to breed earlier than they would be in the wild. So when you do start, pardon me, when you do start them earlier, like we did with the red poles, we paired them in April, and we've got nests in the second week in April. And a red poll in the wild generally wouldn't be ready to breed until at least May. It can take it out of them, and then you end up where you can waste those rounds. So you end up where, let's say we've got 4 pairs of red poles of 8 decide to nest and go down the first 2 weeks in April. Suddenly they're all trying to go down at the same time, and they're all having infertile clutches and clear eggs because the cock's not filling them, or the hen's not ready quite, or the light's not being quite good, or the weather's been weird, and it's something like that. It can throw the birds, and then suddenly you've got 4 pairs that are 1 or 2 clear clutches, and they're in May when they would normally just be having the first clutch. So it'll be a case of making sure it's not too early. So canaries, pair them in the beginning of March, nest sites in middle of March, and then by April they'll probably be all on nests. And the idea of that is what I want to do is I found this year is that not all the canaries are in sync, obviously. So you don't pair them and they'll go down straight away. You'll get one pair will go down in the first few days if you put in the nest sites in, and the other will take a week, and then the other will take a 2 week. And the idea is what I want to do is stagger it. So it might be we'll then by that point we'll assess right what can go down now, and what, how do we want to stagger it. So all the small pairs, so the Irish, the Razzers, and those particularly bred feeders. So we've got the white and blue hen with the it's not a red factor, they're all crossbreds. It's just an orange sort of red factor based cockbird we had from Richard Jones and Arwell. So it was good with those, and then what we're going to be doing is making sure that they're sort of in sync with the red poles. So we'll probably put a pair down, let's say beginning of May, a pair down second week in May, and a pair down last week in May, and then we want to try and get them around the same time and in sync with those guys, because if we do need them to be fed, then they can be, and especially that specific feeder pair, they'll be useful because I think, well, really useful, all of them, but I think they'll be quite useful for the hybrids. They've been bred specifically to feed Norwich. So then if we're doing bully mules, we're doing crossbill mule, then it's perfect right there. And And then we've got greeny bully, which ideally I think the bully hen will rear him anyway. But if she doesn't for whatever reason, then we have got, we're going to have a selection of canaries that can do that feeding job for us. Thanks. Going to be the first time breeding with canaries this year. I love you watching your videos, mate. You're doing an amazing job. Thank you, Kay. I really appreciate that. Greg Wallace, Kitchen Nightmares. Happy New Year. Can you explain the cinnamon gene, please? Hi, Greg. So cinnamon is a sex-linked gene in birds, or in at least most cases anyway. Don't go. If I'm talking canaries here, most finches, it's a sex-linked gene. Not always the case. You get variations of if it's actually the same gene called something else, and it can be recessive in something, it could be dominant. It's all dependent on that specific one. It's like you get pied in dominant and recessive in red poles. So in most cases, then cinnamon is a sex-linked gene. So what you've got there is that the cinnamon allele, which is called, it appears on the sex chromosomes of the bird. So birds are not X and Y. So a female human is XX, and a male human is an XY. In birds, it's Z and W, and it's the opposite way around. So a ZW is a female bird, and a ZZ is a male bird. So to get females, you only need one single copy of the gene. So if you've got let's say you've got a normal split cinnamon canary, right? You've got and it's a cock bird. It has to be a cock bird because females can't be split for it. So you've got a male fife. It appears to be clear, but it carries cinnamon. That means that one of the colors on the Z chromosome is normal, is the clear, and the other is cinnamon on the other chromosome. So it's got a cinnamon gene on that. Now, in so then you have to have two copies of the cinnamon gene to produce a male bird. So when that cockbird breeds, just say you pair it to a straight clear hen, nothing to do with cinnamon, and it's not a cinnamon bird, that Z chromosome transfers over, and it combines with the W. Now, if it's the carrier gene and its has that cinnamon on it, and it combines with the W from the female bird, you're going to get visual cinnamons there. And then if it's on the other Z gene where there's no cinnamon on it, and it'll combine over to the W, you'll get visual, non-visual cinnamons, and they can't be carriers because it's a sex-linked gene. So it'll be a ZW with no cinnamon, and then that's a hen as well. For the cockbirds, the cockbird has to get the two copies of the cinnamon gene. So it has to be one from the father, one from the mother. You can't have a hen cinnamon and a normal cockbird and get a cock cinnamon. I mean, you can't even get a hen cinnamon unless it carries the cockbird carries cinnamon, in which you get cocks as well. So you have to have it on both sides. So you can have a normal split cinnamon cockbird to a visual cinnamon hen, and you will produce male cockbird cinnamons. If you don't have cinnamon on both sides, you can't produce males. If you're breeding, let's say, a clear to a clear cock to a cinnamon hen, then you're going to get you're going to get all normals, visual normals. Your hens will be visual normals. Your cockbirds, all of your cockbirds, because your hens are cinnamon, will be that's visual normal, but all split for cinnamon. And then if you got those the following year, normal split cinnamons, bred them to a clear, you get cinnamon hens. Hopefully that explains it for you. If there's any more questions, I've tried to make that as simple as possible. If there's anything else, just let me know, Greg, and I'll be happy to help you. Or if you want to drop me a message, I can send you some charts through. I'll tell you what I have got here. Hopefully, everything's going to fall over. Where is it? Red poles and whites. So yeah, these books are awesome, by the way. Just to give you a bit of an idea of how this works, with the cinnamons, it's in this book here. There's a mutation chart, and treat cinnamon as just any sex linked. So you can treat Isabel and Agate as that as well, in red poles at least. But there's some really useful charts like this, and they just contain a bit of information about how it all works. And recessive, dominant, sex-linked, and all of that. And it's really, really useful having these. Don't get me wrong. I study animal science anyway, so I'm an animal science first year student at a university. I'm not going to say the name just for like confidentiality purposes, but I study animal science, so I'm pretty wired up on genetics anyway, so I don't really use them much unless there's something so I tried to work this out before, and I've worked it out now, and I just wonder if anyone else has actually tried it. If you've got a red poll, right, and let's say you've got a visual pied red poll, for simple purposes, you've got a visual normal pied red pollcock, right, and then you decide to pair that to a visual Pheo hen, Pheo pied cross Pheo. You've got two recessive genes, but they're both homozygous. You have to have two copies of the gene in order to produce these visuals. So what you end up with is you get a visual pied bird with two copies of the pied, and you've got a visual Pheo with two copies of that, and you whack them together, and you've now got a bird that's got a visual. It's now got a pied gene and it's got a Pheo gene, both recessive. Suddenly, I've tried to work this out. Does it baffled me first, thinking that must break something. That can't. I don't know how that can work. But what you end up with is two recessive genes that don't work together because they're a completely different version. So what you're going to end up with is normals that are split for Pheo and split for pied. And then I'm thinking, right, well, because it's recessive, you can get cocks and hens are the same. There's no sex linkage there. Could you then pair a normal that's split Pheo and pied to another normal that's split Pheo and pied? And could you end up where you have Pheo pied birds? Could you have visual Pheo pieds? Or does it not work like that? And you'll end up where you have either normals that are split Pheo and pied, and you'll breed visual pieds and you'll breed visual Pheos, but they won't be carrying Pheo, or pied, the opposite way around. And it's something I want to test, and I can't do it yet because I haven't got the stock for it. But if I can at some point source a Pheo hen or a couple of Pheos and a couple of pieds in the red polls, I'm talking here, whack them together and see what happens. I'm really interested to see. And the same goes for dominant genes, because in red polls, at least, then you've got cobalt that's a dominant gene. It's co-dominant. So what happens is you're going to get visuals and non-visuals from nests of just one parent carrying that in cocks and hens. So if you've got, and the best way of saying is double factor. So if you've got, there's two copies, it's on the sex-linked gene, and you've got dominant and another dominant, boom, right, you've got two dominant genes there. So you've got a double factor. So let's say you've got a double factor cobalt, and let's say you do the best example I can give of this is doing a hybrid here. So if you do a cobalt red poll, double factor cobalt red poll with a double factor pied greenfinch, you're going to get cobalt and pied both in single factor. So would that give you cobalt pied hybrids? And I wonder how that would work. I wonder if you'd then get three coloured birds, like a Portuguese harlequin. You've got white, you've got red, and you've got brown/blue. I wonder if it would come out similar to that, and you get these birds that have got three sort of mutations, if you like. You've got not a visual normal in it, you've got visual cobalt in it, and you've got visual pied in it, which would be yellow. And I just wonder how it would work. It'd be really interesting. So it's a hybrid I was going to try this year, and I didn't tell anyone because I thought, well, I don't want it nicking. But then after trying to work it out, I thought, actually, I mean, I've sold my pied greenies. Sorry, I've been at a football match earlier, and just screaming and shouting and stuff. All good things, just cheering on my team. But just like, so sort of a bit of a croaky throat, but no worries. But yeah, so I sold the pied greenies, I want to get the normals up to a good standard first before we go and before we go and decide, right, we're going to do pieds as well. It might end up where maybe we don't do pieds and we'll get a cinnamon in 2 years' time or something, a decent cinnamon, and we can just float it round in the normal lines, and you'll get a couple of normals that split cinnamon here and there. It improves the feather quality. It don't bring them down, so I'm not bothered about that. It's the pieds that could. I don't want to be putting these pieds in that then might ruin the colours. If you accidentally do a double factor pied and then you put it with a normal, it might wash out the colour. I'd just rather not. I'd rather make sure I've got a really solid stud worth of normals first. And then for pied red poles, they're so hard to. Well, sorry, cobalts even on this subject. I've not had a good few years with the cobalts. I bred 3 this year, all of which weren't brilliant. They're okay. The markings are all right, but the colour wasn't as good as it needed to be. So hopefully it will be this year. We've got bloody hell. Hopefully it will be this year. So we've got 3 pairs of cobalt red poles this year. 2 pairs of cinnamons. I think one of them overlaps to doing cinnamon cobalts as well. So it'll be 4 pairs of is it 4? Cinnamon. We've got cobalt to cobalt, normal to cobalt, cinnamon to cobalt, cinnamon to a cinnamon. Oh, and then a normal to a cinnamon as well. So 5 pairs of colour variants. I'm hoping it'll all work all right and nicely. And it'll keep the blood sparse enough in the colour variant section that we can do some interesting stuff with, and we'll see an improvement there. And then obviously the normals, I've hopefully got a cockbird coming in, and if I can't get that cockbird in, I'll try. I've got another source I can go to who's the same person I'm getting these special birds from. Can't let it slip. And they're good red poles as well. So we'll be seeing all that relatively soon. Happy New Year, Chris. Thanks for first year breeding canaries. Yep. Do you have any big tips on breeding siskins, please? Thank you, Rottin. Hi, Rottin. So siskins are not easy. I've tried it. I've had 3 years now. I've tried siskins for over the course of my whole time trying to do doing British birds and stuff. Not had much luck, to be honest. I've only ever bred 4. First year, cockbird smashing eggs. Second year, cockbird killing chicks, and then got a round out without them being killed. This year I did 2 pairs, none of which reared, so it was a nightmare. But that's not to say don't breed them. It's just that I didn't enjoy it, so that's why we don't have any anymore. But we might in the future. So make sure you've got your hens, and make sure your hens are. I'd say definitely first put your hens in the flight cage first, or whatever you're breeding them in, because I found the cockbirds can be quite aggressive. If you either 1 put them in first or 2 put them in at the same time. So make sure your hen's not getting battered and she's a bit more comfortable first. Nest sites cover so that the hen can hide from the cockbird, and make sure there's room for them to get out of each other's way. For the other then for a siskin cock, it's difficult. Each one's different. So one will feed the youngsters, one will kill chicks once they've hatched, and one will smash eggs when they're laid. So it's really difficult with them. They're all different. I'm gonna have to get another drink soon. So the siskins are siskin cocks may be a pain in the arse. So what I'd say is you've got your first pair. And they've gone down, you got first egg, right? What I'd do is I'd take that egg out and put a fake egg in, and do that for 5 days until she stopped laying the clutch. Take the cockbird out, put the real eggs back in, leave her to it. If you can. Obviously, sometimes it doesn't work. So if you've got a big flight in them, they're usually all right with that. But I'd still recommend taking the siskin cock away. I wouldn't risk it anymore. I didn't this year. And although we didn't breed any, that was now down to the hens. First round, from one hen, she had 1 round and they were clear, and then she didn't go back down since. And for the other pair, we had youngsters in the nest at 5 days old. I rung them, and someone let a firework off It was the same firework that scared the red poll hen off the nest, which killed the cobalt siskin red poll hybrids, which I was gutted with because they were lovely looking hybrids. You know, they were little black hybrids with gold wing bars. I thought, oh my god, these could look awesome. Anyway, I ended up ruining them. So there's that. And yeah. So yeah, there's that. So sorry, I just got a drink. So that was quite nice. In that. But you know, it was annoying that firework killed them, and then the same firework then scared the siskin hen off the nest, and the chicks froze, which is really gutting, to be honest. I am gutted that we didn't get any this year, and then that was it. Where I was like, well, you know, I can't keep doing this with the siskins, and I'd rather make some room for something else, like we did with the twites. So that the twites have took place of the siskins for this year, at least just a single pair of them. We've got the reed bunting, but that's going to go up to a chap. Not I'm taking that to a show for a chap who's got a hen. He's been trying to breed them for a couple few years, and he just can't get a cockbird. So I was like, right, well, he might as well make use of him. So he's having the cockbird, and I'll try and get some photos of them. Once he's got that, we'll be taking it to a show for him. And see how we get on there. And fingers crossed it's all right, like. And what? So the siskins have gone, and we've took place with them with a pair of twites. And then we've got the special pair of birds coming in as well. I can't tell you any more than that because I want to make sure that we get them before obviously I show you. Because if we don't, I'll be upset because I'm really looking forward to it. But also I don't want to let you guys down, so I can't tell you what these special birds are. It's not reed bunting. Someone has said, is it a reed bunting? And I'm like, no, I won't be hyping it up this much for that because we've already got a reed bunting. Obviously they are a big deal, but we've already got one. This is something new I've not kept before, and no one of us who makes YouTube videos, as far as I'm aware, has any and has showed them. And they are a British finch. So yeah, make of that what you will. It's very exciting. So that's that. Where are we? Hi Tonio. I hope you had a good Xmas New Year. Thank you, Elliot. Hope you have as well. Happy New Year from Greece. Thank you, Tiger. Logan's British Beards, I presume that's Tom Logan. Nice to see you on here, mate. Any Softbills? Yes. We will at some point do some Softbills. I've not decided what they're going to be yet. Not this year, but maybe possibly 2024. We could. 2023. We're already in 2022. So 2023 breeding season, possibly. 2024 is more likely. It depends on how we get on with all the birds this year, and that special pair, if I can breed them and we get a couple of youngsters from them, I'll be trying to source a few more outcrosses in, and we'll be putting a lot of work into those because they're not available really at all. So Softbills possibly. What will it be? I don't know. I've had a pair of black red stars about 2 years ago, and I had a nightmare with them. So I'm going to be avoiding them for the near future, at least, because it was that much of a nightmare, and I was gutted I lost them, to be honest. They're obviously quite a rare bird. Bearded reedlings, I had a cockbird of those, and I had it for a good few months. It was a 4-year-old bird. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here. Just after that football match, just shouting and cheering and stuff, I just gone. What was I saying? Bearded reedling. Bearded reedling's more likely because they're more readily available. I have quite a few friends with them. I've got another mate who's literally just bought 2 pairs of them. After I showed him some, and he was like, "Whoa, look at them!" So he bought 2 pairs, and we'll see if we can. We might do. And Here you go, a bit of a sneak peek thing, to a bit of a spoiler for you. Well, it's not a spoiler. We've got a bit of room on the back garden. So I've got how my house, well, our house is situated. We've got it's quite a bit different than a normal house, in the how the land's sort of separated out, and we've got some room, where we could get a 25-foot long L-shaped aviary. Um, so me and my dad have been looking at that, and we're thinking, oh, we might do that in the next few months. And we can put a load of overflow birds in there. So everything we have so a couple of bits we've got spare that we need to keep back for breeding season if we lose anything can go in there. But it's also going to make a nice planted aviary and a big aviary that we could have something in like that. I would we've got well, because of the size of it, I have considered something like, could we get a pair of avocets or a pair of something really unusual, so a pair of something that's is soft bill, but is not a standard soft bill. So I thought, well, we could get blackbirds, but I thought I'd rather put blackbirds in the flights we've got. I think they'd be fine in those and breeding them. Skylark's probably the same, but we could do something really different in that. So I thought, if I had a pair of avocets in there, and then maybe a pair of waxwings or wheatears or something really quite exciting like that. I thought that would be brilliant. Obviously, with them being wader birds as well, they are different. They are exciting, and as well, I see quite a few people with them. Yeah, well, okay, that's a lie. I've seen them at shows, avocets, when we go to like Stafford or Newark. There was a lady at Stafford selling lapwings. I'd have a pair of lapwings quite happily, and there's people selling stilts, selling avocets and stuff like that. And there's usually the same people. So there's like 2 or 3 breeders I see pretty much at every show selling a pair of them, and it's really like, wow, we could actually. This is a viable option. We could get a pair of them, maybe. So we'll see. Woodies. Yeah, I tell you what, we could get some woodpeckers. I know one person with them, and that's Oh yeah, great, brilliant. Just names left my head. We did a Zoom room with him in the summer. I'm so sorry. I forgot. The names left my head. In an island, and he's got what 2 or 3 male great spotted woodpeckers. I'd love to do woodpeckers. My only problem is I'd then have to. Yeah, that's it. Jerry Kidd. Thank you, Logan. Um, the only thing is that I would have to build a. I can't build a wooden aviary, and that's how I build everything. I build everything out of wood, and I do it all properly, like, and I do it all well secure and everything like that. So it works fine in that, but I'm not a welder and I don't do metal work. I can do woodwork, no problem. I've done that for a while. Anyway, it ends up where we I can't really do woodpeckers at the moment with the current setup or this new one we're looking at building, because I'd have to get a whole metal aviary put out, and it's a nightmare, and a lot of money. We were talking about a wooden aviary. It probably cost me 500 to 800 quid for mesh, but we've got quite a bit wood, mesh in the floor, all of that stuff. But if I wanted a metal one, I'd have to get a custom made one, and for that size, 25 foot, we're looking at a few £1,000, and unless I suddenly start like absolutely killing it on YouTube and making a load of money through adverts and stuff like that, I'm not going to be able to do it for a while, or win the lottery, one or the other, and I take that. But then still, so yeah, it'd be good, but I don't think woodpeckers is an option right now. Not saying we can't in the future, but not right now. Oh, brilliant. Muley Man and Trevor Baker, thank you so much for the donations. That's very much appreciated. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, so just on that soft bills, it's likely if we're going to do soft bills, that would be bearded reedlings or a type of thrush, realistically. I don't know. We'll have to see what comes across. And to be honest, knowing what I'm like at a show anyway, if I see something, think, yeah, that's not a bad price, or I get offered something like we've got with this special pair of finches that's coming in. I get offered something, and I'm like, I'm going to regret not taking this, at that price. And from the person and how good these birds are, I'm going to regret it. So if we did end up where I go to a show and there's a pair of bearded reedlings for 60 quid and it could be Stafford in March, I'm having them for 60 quid. Happened with bullfinches 2 years ago. I buy a pair of Siberian bullfinches. And I look at them like, oh my God, they look brilliant. How old are they? They're a year old. How much you want for them? 40 quid. I was like, boom, yeah. I don't know why they were 40 quid. I think it was packing up and we're just like, young lad, I'll sell them 40 quid. I was like, awesome. So yeah, it could well happen, but we'll have to see. I also red siskin the same behaviour as normal siskin. Elliot, so I've not bred normal red siskin, so I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly. I imagine not, based because they're completely different birds. They're obviously in the siskin family, but the red siskin's a South American siskin, and the obviously the European siskin's a European bird, so they're quite distantly related in that sense, and therefore I imagine the behaviour is much different. I've seen people breed them and they seem to be fine. I've not heard of any problems with them like that. But I honestly wouldn't be able to tell you from experience. Happy New Year. I'm wishing you a fantastic review. Oh, thank you very much, Trevor. You too. Really appreciate it. Happy New Year from Turkey. Thank you, Marmot. Are there any more news on the stock of multivitamins? Try Trevor. So, literally, the guy who I've been got these multivitamins from, just he had them on eBay. Almost selling through that, and suddenly he's just disappeared off it. So I've tried contacting him. I've not got anything back. I'll try him again. I've not tried contacting him about a month now. But if I can then make sure, because what I don't want to do is say, here's the link for them if they come back up on eBay, and then suddenly they sell out in, like, let's say these only got 2 or 3 bottles left. I'd rather make sure, like, how many have you got? You've got 100 bottles, right? Put it on YouTube, let people know, and then go from there. But yeah, they're really good stuff, by the way. I'm really pleased with it. The only test I need to do is a full malt with them. I've done a half a malt with them, not a full malt, but I'm happy with them. So I'll get onto him again, and then once I know that the stock's there, and hopefully I do get through to him, we can go from there. Fingers crossed, we can go from there. And I'll tell you all. Rod and Clive, thank you. Nice one. Looking forward to that. Yeah, it should be good, Logan. They'll be exciting with some Softbills. I do need to visit some Softbill keepers, or do some more videos on them. We know Bernard Williams, who we did the latest Zoom rooms with, had Softbills. He bred Skylarks and stuff like that, Wheaties, Jays, and a few more the out there Softbills, not some of the really common ones. So we'll have to do a video with Bernard on them, man. I think that would be great. And if I can sort of get to a Softbill place, that'd be great. So yeah. Happy New Year, Oliver from thank you, Kieran. Happy New Year to you too. Happy New Year, much love, Sammy. Yam, Sammy. Thank you very much. Happy New Year, mate. Yeah, thank you, Muley, man. Really appreciate that, and the donation as well. I have to say, well, you've got a lot more experience and knowledge now, though, so I'm sure you'll do better with the hard species. I hope so, Logan. The only thing is that I've not built up the experience with these Softbills, and to be honest, I think I jumped in the deep end with black red starts. It was just one came available ahead, and I was like, that's interesting. Anyway, found out the price, and I was like, oh my God, it's like a young hen for that price. So I picked it up from the All British 2-3 years ago, and then I managed to contact a guy who got a cockbird, and he just said, I'll give it you. So I got a pair. Okay, I'll tell you, I got a pair of black red stars for 50 quid. But they were both current year birds as well. But it just ended up where, well, it just didn't go right. I don't know why. It wasn't disease or anything like that. But I had them in the house for about 2 weeks because it was quite cold and we got not good. As soon as I put them in a shed, they were not quite right. I fed them all fine, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, it wasn't great. But it's part of the learning, and I can try and source some again if we decide we want to do that. Yeah, how do you reckon 3 foot long fight would be good enough for a pair of siskins? Yes, that should be fine. It depends on how deep it is and how tall it is. We tried siskins this year, beginning of this year, in a 3 foot, 12 inch by 12 inch, and it didn't go well. they were fighting a lot and they wouldn't go to nest. So I ended up putting them out in the flight, and then that's how we got them to nest. If you went something like 3 foot by 18 inch by 18 inch, it might be better. But it does depend on how the birds are bred as well. So the birds I paired were actually bred in flight, so it's probably not not the best for them to be cage bred. But if you've got a pair of cage bred European siskins, rather than aviary bred birds, then by all means try it. And to be honest, usually if a bird's in breeding condition, it'll breed in anything you put it in, generally. So yeah. Well, maybe there could be a parrot cage that could use for it. Yeah, so that would be interesting, Elliot. I'd have to look into that. If we did get woodpeckers, the only thing is that I'd feel bad if we kept them in a parrot cage, because they're not birds that need to be kept in a cage like that. They're I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen a woodpecker in real life. Hopefully you have. They're not as big as you think, but they're still big. So they're probably a bit bigger than a starling. But I wouldn't like to put them in a parrot cage unless I got one of those massive ones, those like parrot aviaries, and I think there's something like 10b6, and you can buy a lot of there's a company that makes most of the parrot cages these days that does them. I've seen them at a pet shop near me when I've gone in for mealworms. And they've got this big sort of parrot aviary. They bred some macaws in it this year. They put 2 macaws together that they were supposed to be both boys, and then one laid an egg, and next thing you know, they got chicks. It was brilliant, because they were asking me about it, because I obviously they know who I am and stuff, and they was asking me about it. I was like, to be honest, mate, I've never bred macaws. They're not just a normal thing you can just pick up and breed, and then you usually have to have quite a setup for them, and they just literally pet shop. Boom, throw them in this aviary, and they've like clicked, and we got chicks. Brilliant. It was lovely to see them. So yeah, happy New Year from Ireland when you get in the halls. I've not confirmed that yet, Brian. Those special birds will be middle of January, probably. I'll probably pick them up at the next show. Yeah, the bin reeds and lovely little birds. Yeah, that's right, Elliot. They are, honestly, they're lovely little birds. A friend of mine's got 3 or 4 pairs. Another friend's got 2 or 3. So I've got contacts for them. If we were to breed them, I'll have to have them in the big the 8 before flight, but I need to plant it and do all that, and that's fine. But I want to make sure that I want to make sure that I don't end up where I think, oh, I'll throw some spare in, and then it's not right for them. I'd rather make sure it is. And we'll see, and it'll depend on how this breeding season goes as well. If it, God forbid, touch wood, if we have a trash breeding season, then it might end up where something goes that we breed no mules and hybrids. I've got 5 pairs of 4 bully hybrid. What is it, 4? Red pole bully, Canary bully. Oh no, greeny bully, and then we've got crossbill bully, haven't we? Sorry, we did crossbill bully, and then we decided to change it to native bully, just straight native bully. Well, if we have a trash year with those, then it might end up where we do get a pair, and I try them instead of crossbill bully or something next year. But yeah, we'll have a look. Sorry, I keep saying so much. Happy New Year, bro. Thank you, Michael. Cheers, appreciate it. No problem, Trevor. Male red starts are amazing. We have them here in Malta. Yeah, they are. They're brilliant. I've never seen a wild red start. The black red starts, well, I think they're both lovely. I like the black red starts personally because they're a bit different than the normal red start. But they're both lovely birds, and I'd be happy with a pair of either of them once the time comes. And what I've not seen a wild one. I know they're a lot more common in Europe. I know. I mean, my dad's been on like golf trips to Spain and stuff. I think he said he's seen just a normal sight as a common red start, and I'm like, oh my god, we see that in the UK, and it's like tell everyone about it because it's a big deal. And it's like black red starts as well. They generally nest in like building sites. They nest on sort of buildings and weird places you wouldn't usually expect. Would you do a video site video on the society finch? I know it's not your thing, but there's not much showing tropical finches online. So, Elliot, do you mean like a Zoom room on the Bengalese finches? Because I'm more than happy to do a video on them, but it's just I'd have to do it as a Zoom room with a breeder, because obviously I don't keep Bengalese. I've bred them before. I've bred them for about a year and a half, 2 years, and again, my knowledge is so limited on them. My advice for breeding Bengalese of how I bred them was throw about 10 into a flight, put a load of nest boxes, and they'll work out and they will work out pairs, because I've got no clue how to sex them. I've seen them sing to each other, and that's the best you get from that. They sing to each other. The males sing, the females don't, but then you still can't visually sex them, and that you'd have to get them DNA'd, but that means you have to buy them first. And if you go to a breeder who's got a load of youngsters spare, right, I'll have 10 of them, they'll turn out cocks, you stuffed. Who wants them? So yeah. Sorry, what? Yeah, Zoom room video on tropical. Yeah, that's fine then. I can do it. I can do a Zoom room on them. I'll have to find out who the sort of the top breeders of them. Rather than just a video with anyone who breeds Bengalese, because we need people who are really knowledgeable on the subject, who have got a lot of experience, and that would be good. I can work that out. The beautiful of watching robins running after them. Yeah, they are the red starch muley, man. They're great. Always, like I said, we don't really get them in this country. There's a few, but they're such a rare sight. It's a big deal to see them. Robins are nice. I see a robin or two every day. There's one that hangs around near the aviaries. I just put a bit of food out for it, and it likes it. It's happy enough. And then when I go bird watching, there's always 2 or 3 I see on the day. And that's just sat literally watching one feeder. If I went on a walk, I'd probably have 15, 20 of them. I did find in lockdown in probably April to May, April and May 2020. Often went and walked down the local canal, and down one of the paths on there, and past there, I'd been walking down and seeing this robin fly across. And then walking on the way back, it did it again. I'm thinking, yeah, this is not right. Anyway, what did we find? There's a tree which is next to a wall that's sort of crumbling down, and just literally, it's weird because it was quiet, and it's in plain view as a robin nest, and there's 4 or 5 little robin heads poking out of these babies, and mum and dad are coming back and forth feeding it. Brilliant. It's literally on the path, about 4 foot off the floor, so not even out of the way of predators, really. And that was great. And then I've had my grandparents got like a really big plant pot, and it got like a lip on it, so it folded inwards rather than outwards, and they got some like fancy grass growing in that, and they kept seeing robin when it was, I'll go and take a look, and because they'd seen a magpie hanging around, and we was thinking, oh god, if they are nesting, we need to keep an eye out for this. Anyway, the little nest about that big, corner of it dug out in the dirt, moss and straw, 5 or 6 robin eggs. It was brilliant. And they had those they had those nests there for the year. Well, for one clutch, but we had to keep an eye out for the magpies, because magpies, as soon as the chicks jump the nest, they're after them. It's just horrible. So I had to keep an eye on that, and also needed to know it was there. So when they come to water the plants, they didn't accidentally drown a nest of robins. So it was good that we knew it was there, and we worked out so that it was safe. So yeah, fingers crossed, it's all right. And then this year they nested in a bush in a little bird box. I tell you what, I do need to put some more bird boxes out for the wild birds. I just end up putting so much money and building time and stuff and all that into building stuff for my birds. I don't usually get time to. I've got a few bird boxes up, but I should probably. What I'd like to do is get some spare scrap wood I have actually got, and then build some nest boxes I can go and put up in the local park or something. Just be useful, because I always like to try and help out. Yeah. Oops, sorry. Let's have a look on some more comments. Parrot cages in Aviary for the parrot. Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Then we can work that out. Um, yeah. Happy New Year, pal. I can't wait for the breeding season. Yeah. Thank you very much, Trace. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it as well. Should be good. Would you ever be interested in breeding European robins, robin redbreast? I want to pair, but cannot source any. Again, it'd be one of those where if I was to get into soft bills, it depends what available at the time. I know Essex, is it Essex? Enfield, is it? Yeah, Enfield Bird Centre. Sorry, down obviously Enfield, London. They've got some, though they had some robins from what I've been told. I've never been. I'd like to go. I was nearly going to get a reed bunting from them, but it just ended up where to get it curried, it was going to cost more than it was going to cost for the bird. And I just like, I'd rather make this bit and make sure the reed bunting cock went to a guy who got a reed bunting hen, who was really desperate to breed them, just couldn't source one. So I thought I'll do that, and it can wait. Robins then, yeah, I would if we decide we're going to go into soft bills. If it's just a single pair, we get this big Aviary 25-footer done. Then yeah. What I've heard is, and I have seen in the wild anyway with robins, is the males are quite territorial. Often at home I'll see robins fighting on the front garden, males just fighting, and it's like, oh great. And I just worry that if we did get a pair of robins that we'd end up where the male kills the female or something, or it's fighting with a wild robin through the mesh or something, and then I don't want disease transferring or just even them hurting each other. So maybe I'm not against the idea, but we'll have to see. Again, it's based on availability. I'd love, but to be honest, I'd love a hawk or something, or a pair of hawks. Like I'd love a pair of peregrines or something. I've always been interested in trying to do the falconry as well as British birds, um, and stuff. And I've done a lot with it. I've done basically, I'm at the point now where if I was going to get hawk, all I need to do is get the bird and get the equipment. I've done all the experience and knowledge that you can imagine, even hunting them and stuff. But I'd love a pair of peregrines or something like that, or even owls, a pair of little owls or something. It's just that with the current setup and birds and a hawk doesn't really suit having a load of greenfinches next door to it. And I'd worry that if I did decide to have, I don't know, let's just say a pair of little owls, it'd put the birds off breeding, and then suddenly it might be great because we'll breed 6 little owls, um, but then I've bred no greenies, I've bred no red poles or any hybrids or anything, and then it's kind of like, why have I got all these finches in, and I've got 6 baby little owls to show for it because I've not bred anything. So I'd rather do them separate, or if I was to do them, make sure I've got a big enough place that I can. The only thing I could do if I wanted a pair of them is put them on this big 25-foot Aviary we're talking about. But then still, I can use it for one pair of birds, and that'll be a pair of little owls. And I'd rather use it for some finches or softbills, like I said, avocets or reedlings or even robins like that. Yeah, Black Race are way more common here, but I've seen a couple of commons as well. Oh, nice one. Awesome. Yeah, I've heard both are about in a lot more in Europe. I've not seen them myself. To be honest, I've never been to mainland Europe. I've only been to islands and stuff. So like Greek islands, Spanish islands, even the Canary Islands. I tell you what, I went to Canary Islands when I was little. Little did it like honestly now I'd be like, oh my god, there's a wild canary. I'd love to see what happened if I put that with like one of our like fifes or something that are in Norwich, because they're the same species. Be interesting. Um yeah, I've Bengal from my first 17 days had them. Uh, oh, brilliant! What? That's a great result, Elliot. What? That fantastic. Yeah, you're gonna say it's one of those where you can drop lucky. I think I had about 10 Bengies, and I had one pair out of them. The rest just never paired up, and we bred a single one. Um, and then they had a gap of about 3 months, and then they had 5 or 6, and then that was it. They just ended up where it just threw them all. And I don't know how that well they got on with the zebras. To be honest, we had zebra finches as well in the Aviary and stuff, and it was all right. But I think the zebs outcompeted pretty much everything for a nest site. They'd even a canary would build a nest and a zebra finch would overtake it, and it was really quite annoying. So yeah, and wrens kept in the UK by By many. Yeah, you can get wrens. I've seen a few people have them. Again, it's one of those where they're not very common. There's probably, just off the top of my head, I know I've seen two people who've got them. Doesn't mean there's not more. There's a lot of people who don't have Facebook and commonly use the internet to display what they've got. But I know of two people, and that's not many. Whereas it goes for more common ones, reedlings, thrushes, blackbirds, song thrushes, basically starlings. I know quite a few people, and I know a lot of people who put me in those contacts with them. But yeah, I'd be interested in wrens, but I imagine they're really quite sensitive in winter. It's just one of those where I'd be really, really like nervous about having a pair of them. Hi, I want to spend. I want to send money to Paul, but I'm not PayPal. Haven't you, Jimmy? Thank you, Chief Papa. So yeah, you don't have to have PayPal. All you have to do is you can go on the link, send some money, and you can send it via your bank account. So you don't have to have PayPal. PayPal's just the media by what we're collecting it. So I decided to use PayPal because it was the best like universal option. Because everyone who already has PayPal can just quickly put it in. When I come to extract the funds and then transfer them to Paul, it's very simple and easy rather than have to go through a whole process with a website and also PayPal. So whenever you do a fundraiser or buy via like a website or an outward source or anything like that, they're always going to take fees because they just do. So PayPal was the cheapest. So what we've done is we've raised so far just over 1,200 quid. And I think we've only paid something like 40 quid in fees, which is really good. Where I've seen some of them, it was like 15 to 20% they want to take from fundraiser. I'm like, that's a lot of money because people are donating by the kindness of the heart for some fundraising companies who want to take 20%. It's like, that's massive. You're trying to do a good thing and you lose 20% just because some greedy company wants to nab it all. And I get they have to make money, but it seems a bit excessive. So yeah, PayPal's the best option. They take 3.5%, or basically that. And then it's such a little amount of the overall thing anyway. It's so minor that I'm thinking, well, that's probably the best option. So yeah, you can go through PayPal and you can transfer it direct from your bank, and it'll be so much appreciated. Anyone who donates to either myself on the super chat option, or if you donate via to Paul's fundraiser, it'll be very much appreciated, honestly, and it'll be great. The link, I've pinned the link on the chat. If you do follow OC Aviary on Facebook, it's also on there, and I have put it under this week's video that come out this morning. So if you do want to make a donation, anything's very much appreciated. Then you're more than welcome to do so. Did you ever consider mealworm farm? I set mine about 6 weeks ago. Pretty straightforward so far. Got a good way to get veg into the birds. Hi, Brian. Yes, I have considered it, and because of this pair of birds we're getting in, they are going to need live food, and therefore we do need some source of it now. The pet shops I've got near me generally aren't bad prices for it, and I'm not far from one of the suppliers who supplies a lot of the big like the big distributors of mealworms and live food. So I should be all right for it, to be honest. I've considered doing it, but I found conflicting information. I looked at setting up about a year ago, getting some trays, like almost like a storage unit by what it looks like, and setting one up. But then I'm finding somewhere it's saying, oh yeah, it's easy to do it like this. And other people say never do it like that. You need to do it like this. And it was really hard. So I decided I wasn't going to do that, and I'd buy them in because I don't use many of them anyway. With my finches not really needing a lot of them. But with this new pair of birds, they eat live food like it's nothing, and they'll go through a lot. So I probably should do that. If you want, tell you what, Brian, if you have got Facebook or Instagram, drop me a message, or there's even a link. So OC, for email, you can find it on the page. oc.aviary@gmail.com. Drop me an email. I'd just like to find out how you do it and how you found how you found it so far. Obviously, like you say, easy way to get veg into the birds, but also, something like have dinner, or oh right, we've got a couple of carrots left or what, rather than throw them away, scrape them into the mealworm thing. It's brilliant. It's same for like Christmas dinner. We had loads of Brussels sprouts left, so I've thrown them all in for the birds, and they've loved them. It's something like that. If I could throw them all into a mealworm farm, it'd be brilliant. We'd hopefully breed loads of them. I know it's not hard breeding them, but it's just the whole setup and getting them done. It's a nightmare. I had a house for 4 or 5 years, was learning experience. They're great to start with birds of prey. Yeah, Elliot, I've not owned a bird of prey myself, but I've done the whole thing with a Harris hawk. So easy to maintain the weight on, relatively straightforward to train, and all of that, and hunt them. So it's like I went from the September catching the bird out of an aviary. And I think it was a 4-year-old when we did that, and it had been hunted and manned previously. But then we manned it, broke it, so it was used to people. We then got it on crane's cord and we're flying it to and from, just making sure. And then a few weeks later, we've got it on telemetry, and off it goes, and it's hunting. And it was really good fun, and we did that. And then it came round to probably March. We took his GSs off. I think we took his anklets off as well, because they were a bit old and they needed some new anklets. Took them off, put him into his aviary, and that was it. So we went through the whole thing with him, and it was really good. And obviously they eat anything as well. They're not picky about the food. I know that the lady who got this Harris hawk has always said to the farmer, if he shoots any crows or seagulls or anything that's a pest to his crops, which is allowed to do, tell him, and she'd take obviously the shot out of the dead bird, whether it was a crow or a seagull, throw it in for the Harris hawk, and he'd love it. So I just thought perfect. In that, I'd love a bird of prey, but I just don't think at the moment it's the right thing to do. VWR Tech. Janice, I'm sorry, Janice, I don't quite understand what you mean. I'm commenting about the disappearing. Oh, sorry about that, Mullen, man. I'm not sure why. I haven't got anything that's saying that it's been deleted. I don't think that, as far as I'm aware, there's no filter unless there's bad language on the comments. So just try and retype it, and hopefully it should be okay. It could be something as simple as you've misspelt it, and if you've misspelt it, then it might take that as something else, a bad language or something like that. It's really, really difficult sometimes, isn't it? Yeah, don't worry, guys. I'm just literally sharing this again on my phone just to get a few more people on. Obviously, massive thank you to everyone who's been on so far, and thank you to everyone who's liked this as well. Just remember, as I mentioned in last month's monthly live, every single time you like the video, and every video that you do like, it means that more people get to see the videos, and it reaches a wider audience. So really, if you can put a thumbs up on it, there, it's massively appreciated. And if you can subscribe as well, that's fantastic. So really, very much appreciated. To everyone who watches the videos and everyone who supports the channel. I think obviously we're 6,000. Subscribers, let's have a look. 6,255 subs. I mean, that's brilliant. I am so pleased with that, and I really do thank everyone very, very much who subscribes to the channel and watches the videos, and it massively is appreciated. And yeah, so yeah, it's brilliant. Sorry guys, I'm just quickly sharing this. I just want to get more people on it, just because a lot of people didn't know I was doing this stream. So massive thank you to everyone who has come on. But yeah, so yeah, I tell you what, I might as well tell you a bit more about about these plans for this year. So obviously I've covered a few bits. We've got these special birds, and I still can't tell you what they are. Someone got it right in the comments earlier. Scroll up if you want to work it out, but I'm not going to say. Yeah, so we've I've been contacted by these guys. I'm not going to say their names yet because it's still early days, but about rewilding. Now, rewilding, if you don't know the term, is talking about reintroducing species to a habitat where they're in and and it doesn't have to be, just by the way, reintroducing a species doesn't have to be a bird species or a mammal species. It can be plants, and it can be your fungi. It can be mammals, birds, insects, reptiles, anything like that. And I've been contacted by these guys who are similar age to me who do and specialize in rewilding, and they want me to help them with the bird rewilding as the source of both the birds and the knowledge of keeping them. Now they're all more knowledgeable people than me, but it's with me being young and having the contacts and the platform and everything like that to get it out to people, letting more people know. So I've been contacted about rewilding, and I'm absolutely up for it. I'm really looking forward to it. I can't tell you a lot more details yet because there's not a lot to tell you because it's still early days and we're still waiting for funding to come through, contract to come through of what needs to be done. But we've spoke about doing serines. Serines are extinct in the UK. The odd one turns up occasionally, but they were. I think it was just through habitat loss. Now those habitats are reappearing, and there was a competition as well. So it's looking like serine is a good option, and we can buy some of these in captivity. We can breed them, breed enough numbers, and hopefully start reintroducing them to certain areas. And that would be brilliant. I'd love to do that. The same has been said about twites. I think the twite is still an interesting one because there is still quite a few thousand birds and they do migrate as well. So there is those ones coming over from Europe as well. They had a rough year, the twites. They estimated only 10 to 12 pairs of them bred in the UK. But so there is twites, but it's a difficult bird to come across in captivity, a twite. And then still it's where do you introduce them and why are we losing them? Why aren't they breeding? Because there's no point in reintroducing a species that's not going to be able to survive once it's been reintroduced, because it might have a very short-term benefit, but the overall benefit is going to be minimal. It's going to be so minimal. So it's like if you decide to, let's just say we decide that we're going to release a dozen lynx in the UK that used to be here but were hunted to extinction. And if you release lynx, then it ends up where, right, brilliant. The long-term effect, the long-term impact, the short term is that they're hunting prey items like rabbits, they're hunting deer, and what they're going to be doing is doing the job of a gamekeeper who's controlling these numbers, especially deer. The deer has now no natural predators in the UK. A fox won't take out a deer, or most deer anyway. A human is the only thing that can take out a deer. So suddenly we have a massive explosion in deer population because there's nothing that hunts anymore. So then you reintroduce lynx, and let's say for 15 years those lynx hunt the deer. They eliminate the old weakened ones that are draining the environment, and just build a healthy population. But then if those lynx can't survive for whatever reason, they can't reproduce, let's say they're too scattered about, let's say we reintroduce 12 lynx in the UK, but we release them at 12 different sites and there's one lynx in one area and the next lynx across is 100 miles, they're never going to find each other, or so unlikely to, that it's the end. And then the overall long-term impact is that as soon as those lynx die, deer populations shoot back up, and it doesn't have the effect that you want it to. So when it comes to these birds, we want to make sure that you're reintroducing birds that are going to be able to survive and continue to do that and have that effect. It's like beavers. Beavers hunted to extinction. That's the only reason that we didn't have them in the UK, because we hunted them to extinction. As soon as we've reintroduced them, there's all these new habitats popping up because They're ecosystem engineers. They make wetland areas. They do so much good stuff. They make slow flowing water, so you get these birds breeding. The fish breeding, and it's brilliant. And then now that these new habitats are coming up, because bird species were lost or almost pushed out, we were pushed out of that area because the beavers were no longer there. They can now be reintroduced, but the chances of them finding the way there is minimal, because let's say willow tits, for example, you might find that there's various populations of willow tits in the UK, but most of them haven't found the way, and almost won't find the way. It's impossible to find their own way to a site at which a beaver's been and has made this perfect habitat for them. So the job of humans is to reintroduce them, and we can reintroduce willow tits to the beaver sites, and the willow tits will then breed and do get the insects, and then it'll be a healthy insect population, and you get the gist. It's just a tumbleweed effect. It's just everything goes the right direction. So then you can reintroduce willow tits onto these beaver sites, and then there's now a good population of willow tits that then might make their way upstream to the next beaver dam, and it's perfect. And then it all starts falling into place. So with birds, I mean, willow tits are so rare in captivity, it's almost impossible that we're going to be able to ever get any. Let alone get enough numbers that we can now look at reintroducing them whilst breeding them. But for something like a serin, it's not bad. There's a number of breeders, and you might even look at something else like red polls have been a mention. But red polls, the only thing is that they're on the red list and the conservation list based on the fact that their population is very small compared to what it once was. It's all relative, but a small red poll population is about 500,000 pairs. A small willow tit, or a small bearded reedling population is 600 pairs. So if you release a load of red polls, for example, we release a load of normal red polls into the wild, then you're going to see no effect, or very, 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 very little effect, because it's so relative. But then if we said we released 60 bearded reedlings to a site, suddenly the population's increased by 10%, because there's only 600 pairs or 600 individual birds in the UK. So it's all relative, and we're looking at that. But that's just an idea of hopefully something you're going to see on the channel this year, and that's going to improve getting a new another site, let's say, for birds, and keeping these birds and breeding them. And they're not my normal birds, by the way. This is not a new site for me breeding my exhibition greenfinches. This is a place where we're going to breed birds that we can reintroduce. But yeah, all in time to come. So make sure you subscribe and follow along for that, because you're really not going to want to miss it. It's going to be really exciting. When are you going to start keeping some fives, Adam? Oh, brilliant. Hi, Adam. So Kendall Studs here. I think I'm going to leave that up to you and Matt, mate. I love fives. I think they're lovely birds. But with everything with the native birds I do, I can't see how I can build a stud of let's say, good solid greenies and good red polls, and then also do the fives. Don't get me wrong, it's not something that I'm saying no to, but at least at the moment, I want to make sure I get the natives up to scratch, because the first thing I go to is our natives. I'm a native bird man, not a canary man. The canaries I've got are for feeding purposes mainly. Don't get me wrong, I do try and keep them pure, where I can anyway. The yellow mosaics are pure, the harlequins are pure, and all that. So it'll be a case of just trying to, maybe we do. I don't know. Not saying no, Adam, but not at the moment. We might do at some point. I am more drawn to the Norwich, and I don't know why. I think it's probably because of the muling aspect of them. But after speaking to Keith Ferry, I was like, I could do with a few pairs of those, but I just don't have the room. Honestly, I want everything. That's the problem. I want everything, so I don't have room for everything. It's a nightmare. Rewilding is the future, my friend. Yeah, you're dead right, Elliot. It definitely is. I think it's going to be, it's just a tumbleweed effect. It's just gathering more and more, like a snowball, just gathering more and more momentum. More people are going into it. I want to go into it, and I've been wanting to for years, and finally got an opportunity to do so with birds, which is perfect because that's my speciality. And I'm really looking forward to that. So I think it'll be good. Yeah, we had beavers in the southwest, I believe. Yeah, that's correct, Elliot. And I think beavers now are really quite good. Um, with the population in the UK, don't get me wrong, with the continuing to release beavers in the UK, but I think it's something like there's like 300 sites or something where they've been released. I think that's brilliant. What a brilliant thing that's done, and the more sites that they're reintroduced to, the less isolated those populations become, because I think one of the things that could be missed is what you don't want to do is say, right, well done, we've now released beavers in the UK to 4 different sites. Brilliant, but those populations are never going to find each other, and they're just going to die out again without human intervention because there's not enough blood, there's not enough genetic diversity, and there's all that sort of stuff. But with that amount of beavers from different bloodlines, as well as all that sites, they're going to find each other and going to interbreed. And I think it's looking really positive with how it's going with the beavers. I'm yet to see one, but I will hopefully be going to find some this year, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah. Happy New Year, Ollie. Thank you very much, Deborah Finch Limousine, man. Yeah, Ollie, to reintroduce willow tip by Captain Brian there, would be viable and possible and wouldn't have to rely on captive stocks. Carbon to reintroduce via taking chicks from the wild. Yeah, Josh, I have researched all of this with that, and the same as the guys who I'm going to be doing the project with. The thing is though is that let's say you take these young willow tits from the nest, and then we're going to breed them in captivity to reintroduce, and it's a rewilding thing. The problem is that you have to have a license to do that. You can't just go and take some willow tits. So if we do it through captive breeding birds like I've got, I know because of what we do is that I can go and buy a pair of willow tits with the correct rings on and continue to ring those young birds, and that's what your proof of captive breeding is. And we've got to have videos and evidence of all of that, and I always make sure I do with every single bird I buy and every single bird that I breed. I've got documented evidence of that, and all birds are closed rung, so that there's never going to be problems. So you can get licenses for it, and it's one of those that I think there's a bit more to it. With you have to be checked and all that. Which is fine. You're not going to be hiding anything, but you don't ever want anything to go wrong with that, because you can end up getting prosecuted if, for example, you end up where you've not got a license, or the license didn't go through, or anything like that. So I'm not against the idea of it, and there's that option, but it's not something. It's not my first point of call. That if we did decide want to release willow tits and reintroduce willow tits, I'm going to go and try and buy captive red ones before and breed those before we go looking at trying to apply for a license, to go through that route. So yeah, but it's an interesting thought. I know the curl bunting was done like that, and obviously it was a success, so it's good. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It's still early days yet, and then once we've got a bit more information on what's the first thing is that we reintroduce for a bird species, because it's all dependent on what a sort of an estate wants. If an estate wants to release ruffs, for example, a ruff is a ground bird. It's in the UK. There's very few of them. I've spoken to a breeder in the Netherlands who's got a few pairs. They're expensive, but it's those things where the estate sponsors you to do it and they pay for all of that, and therefore it means that you can, you've got that option, so you don't have to worry about, well, it's going to cost me 600 quid a pair for these, and I need 5 pairs at least for the first year just to get a number of birds that we can then take to the next breeding season. And then let's say one of those pairs or 2 of those pairs don't breed, it's even less. So yeah. Be interesting, but we'll work it out. We still need to see on what species it's going to be yet. I'm pushing for the serin based on the fact that I know I can get some, and I know I can get captive bred serins as well, and they're extinct. So it's reintroducing an extinct species, not just one that's regionally extinct from a certain small area. It's actually fully extinct in the UK, or classed as. They're seen, one or two a year, and there's no captive, so there's no documented breedings of them for the past 40 years or something like that. So yeah, it'd be interesting. Sent £20 from myself and Cosmatch things. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Michael. That's very much appreciated. Really. Thank you ever so much. And obviously as well, guys, on that fundraiser, just on that point, I'm making a spreadsheet now. I can't show it you because it is on this laptop I'm streaming with, but I'm making a big spreadsheet, an Excel document of just names and the amount donated for complete transparency, so you all know that money, how much has been raised. Obviously the fees incurred with PayPal, but it's very small and minimal, and then you all know that I'm not taking anything for my benefit. I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart and the goodness, and trying to do a good thing here to help Paul get back moving with his birds. Can you keep siskins and greenies in the same flight, Jake? Yes, you can, mate. I did not this past breeding season, the previous one. Got on fine, no problem. The only thing is you need to be mindful that you're going to have to probably remove the siskin cock once he's filled the eggs, because he's going to smash the eggs if not, or he might kill the chicks, or he might take the hen off the nest. So just be aware of that. But yes, you can. Have you seen the video of the USA air dropping beavers to reintroduction and make me laugh? I've not seen that, actually. I tell you what, I'll have a look now. I haven't seen that. That's an interesting thought. Airdropping. Brilliant. That's an airdrop beavers. Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's interesting. It's a thought to do that, but yeah, awesome. All violence. Oh yeah, we spoke about that, Josh. Muley man, it's unbelievable that it's extinct in the UK. Here in Malta, many breed them. Yeah, it's classed as extinct, and it's on the extinct list, I think, by the RSPB. I know I've just seen Josh has said Syrian bred here in South Devon in the last 10 years, but so generally in the UK they are classed as extinct. You do get obviously that one pair that might breed here, and it does happen, but I think it's so rare anyway that the numbers aren't even viable. They might, you might get them where they breed here one year, they all migrate and they never come back. So until you've got a population that's migrating and coming back, and you've got good numbers of them, I think they're classed as extinct. I don't quite know the ins and outs of how the RSPB class it, but they are classed as extinct in the UK. So it'd be interesting to do a reintroduction of the serins, and I would definitely be I'd love to do something like that, and I think it'd be good. Again, it's one of those where I just want to do the right things, do good things, and do my part to help save the planet in one way or another. I'm a meat eater. I'm not a vegan, and I think I'd really struggle to be vegan. So rather than being a vegan and not eating animals, I'll just reintroduce birds, and I think that's a fair. And oh god, there's fireworks going off. I think that's a fair swap, because I just absolutely love meat. I love a burger or a hot dog or a steak. So yeah, but I'll reintroduce serins, and I think that's a fair trade. Sorry, I'm just jumping on the cameras. Let's have a look. Right. Oh, they're not panicking. I'll just show you. We've got the cameras set up in the bird sheds, just to keep an eye on everything. Especially, well, I mean, I have it anyway for security purposes, but keep an eye on the birds. This is a young bird shed where we've got a couple of the show birds, greenies and bully. As you can see, they're all sleeping fine. Even there's fireworks going off, which is good. and then same for the canaries and the large flights. So all fine. Thankfully, we didn't have any fireworks last night, but for some reason there's some fireworks. The day after New Year's, unless they've got it wrong and think tonight's New Year's Eve, and they think that today's the 30th or 31st of December. Yeah, many wild ones come as well. Yeah, so yeah, mule and mandy. I'm going to say that there's loads in Europe, wild breeding populations, obviously, of serins, and they're not an extinct. Sorry, not even. I think they're a green list bird globally anyway, but just in the UK, there's not many. Hi, Oliver. I've been thinking about rewilding with breeders at some point, mate. Let me know if I get involved with the project. Yeah, no problem, Ian. Absolutely, I'd be really that'd be brilliant, mate. I'll definitely let you know. Obviously, we'll see how you get on with your reedlings this year. Don't worry about it yet. Make sure you're breeding. You get your breedings right first. Don't sacrifice anything like that. And we'll see how many produce next year. Get your pairs built up, and then we can work something out on that. Don't sacrifice anything. And it's still early days yet, but yeah, the bearded reedlings, I'd absolutely love to have some and reintroduce them. I think the point is that where you would reintroduce them is these beaver sites as well, where the beavers have been reintroduced. What you need to do is make sure that it's not freshly done. So what you don't want to do is reintroduce beavers in. Let's say you reintroduce beavers in March, and the following March you reintroduce reedlings. I'd say you probably want a 5-year gap between it, because you need to get the ecosystem established. You need to make sure the beavers are doing fine, they're not going to die, and then suddenly everything dies that's suddenly been reintroduced. But you also need time for the reeds to grow back and build up this habitat so that they can do that. But it'd be definitely interesting, Ian, and I'd definitely like to get you involved. So I'll let you know, mate, and we'll work something out. Message you a few times on IG. I have relevant to licensing and law around reintroduction. If you need any assistance, please. Josh, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for that. I'll check the Instagram once this live stream's finished, but yeah, that I tell you what, that's a massive help. Honestly, that's very much appreciated. I really appreciate the message, and I'll take a look. So yeah, massive thank you. Where are you looking to reintroduce them? For the serins, it's literally it's just up in the air at the moment. It's so early days that I can't tell you, and just because I don't know. We spoke about it. Where would they be introduced? Habitat for a serin is, I think, generally not. Is it deciduous woodland? Sort of the same area as red poles, siskins, crossbills, hang, pine, and what like that. So it's a case of we need to have an assessment on the area and the areas being suggested by the estates that want them before we go and say, right, we're going to introduce this there, and this there. It doesn't work like that. So yeah, really early days, guys. I'm going to take you along with all of this. Don't worry, I'm going to let you all know as it's going on. We'll make videos on it. It's not just going to be videos from OC Aviary this year. I think there's going to be videos from rewilding projects, various ones. I mean, we looked at and spoke about doing black grouse and getting we can get a facility sorted out, kind of, and reintroducing black grouse in an estate in Cumbria. I want to say Cumbria. It could be completely wrong there. The thing is, though, is that you need to make sure that there's the right habitat. How big is this estate? We don't want to be right. We're going to release these black grouse on an estate where there's a relatively small area, because suddenly it might work if you release 10 of them, but if you put 100 black grouse on an area, suddenly there's not enough food to support them, they die. So yeah, there's all sorts. I mean, it could be black grouse. It's still an idea, but I think a previous project in the Peak District here didn't go well, from what I understand. So it's an interesting one. We're going to have to look at how the serins work, but I think it'd be easier based on the fact that it's a finch, and it's going to be so close to how it behaves like a siskin or a redpoll that you just basically need to reintroduce it where the siskins and redpolls, the food's there, that the whole habitat's there. But it's again, guys, so early days that I can't tell you much. I think the decline in the population, but there's still a great number. Yeah, I think so. To be honest, muley man, I think most species are declining. And that's because of are basically humans, and we're horrible things. But yeah, so yeah, that's it. I mean, the thing is like I mentioned earlier, in the UK we have RSPB who monitor the birds, and they've basically said, yeah, the red poll population is on the red zone for conservation, which means it's very low and it's concerningly low. But a low population of red polls is 100,000 pairs or something like that. But a red list for bearded reedlings is 600 birds. So there's a massive difference. Same for starlings. You know, a small population of starlings is 1 million pairs. But if you reintroduce starlings, it's never going to make a difference because there's that many of them anyway. The population doesn't do that. I mean, imagine that. Imagine serines, right? Let's say in the UK every year we have 8 serines, right? Suddenly, if I go and release 80 serines in a year, that population has increased by 1,000%. It's massive, and so it's trying to get it right there, and actually small numbers, not just red list, because you do have to separate that out and look into it, finer detail. I gave some poppy seed last night for the fireworks over New Year's tip. Thank you, Elliot. That's great. I'm glad you've used that tip as well. That's brilliant. And yeah, and that's really good. Thank you. And I hope it worked for you as well. I did the same last night. The birds are all fine. Don't get me wrong, they don't like fireworks, but it definitely makes a difference. Definitely, it's much better. And greenies are a massive problem with it. It just gets frightened so easy. You can lose them. Touch wood, I haven't, but it can happen. I know people it does happen to. So yeah. When it comes to separating siskin, can you introduce them to another female or canary, or do you leave them in a cage? Jake, that's an interesting one. So it depends. I think it depends on how you're going to breed them. If that's how you want to do it, what you need to do is get the siskin hen probably to build a nest up first, and then put him in. He'll fill the eggs, take him out, and then they're not bonded. But if you end up with a siskin cock that's bonded to that hen, he ain't going to mate with anything else. Or you could end up where he's not bonded to this hen, and he's filled the eggs. Right, brilliant. Okay, she's sat and then rearing these youngsters whilst he's in with another siskin hen. She then goes down. You take him, put him back in with the original female, and he's now paired to a different one. You don't breed off them. So just be cautious with doing that. What I'd tell you, basically, the best thing you can do is probably put the siskin cock in with the hens that you want him in within the breeding season. Get him familiar with all of them, and then when it's breeding season, put him in with he'll fill the eggs, take him out, so then he doesn't get bonded. And if he bonds, then you kind of messed up a bit there, and you'll only breed off him from one single hen, or maybe 2 if you're lucky. Remember when there was the Canary house sparrow? Here in Malta, there are apparently greeny Spanish sparrow here. I can see a screenshot, but there's no image. It's just people talking in Maltese. Yeah, send me the screenshots, mate. So what I've later found out is that apparently they have been the house sparrow has been crossed with canaries, because the sparrow is. I'm not exactly sure. I'm gonna have to. I'll tell you what. I'll have a look on the evolution charts in a second. But the house sparrow's not that far off of other finches. Therefore, apparently that has been done before. They're not commonly kept. I mean, I think I've probably seen 1 or 2 at between shows and sales house sparrows. There is people who breed them, and there's people with mutations. I've seen like fail house sparrows kept in. It does seem to be in Malta. There seems to be a lot of these birds that we can't get in the UK. It's like I've seen videos of hawfinches breeding in 3-foot cages. It's like, what the hell? We have to breed them on. We have to breed them in massive aviaries, all planted with all this food, and this guy's out there breeding them in 3 or 4 foot wire cages, giving them nothing but peas and egg food to rear with, and it works. I'm like, you guys have got it right. What are we doing over here that's not? And maybe it's just that it's a lack of trying, or we just tend to put them in flights because that's what we do. I don't know, but yeah. I tell you what, I'd like to try Canary house sparrow at some point. If I can get a house sparrow, we'll try it. Not this year, but okay, maybe this year if I find one, just drop on one. But that's so unlikely that we'll look for one next year, and if I can get us one, and we'll try a house sparrow mule. So that'd be interesting. I could take best mule in show. Best mule or hybrid house sparrow mule. Everyone would be like, "What the hell? I've got a canary bully here. It looks brilliant, and this house sparrow mule's beating it." That'd be quite funny. Where do you find the charts? Literally, Elliot, go on Wikipedia of the family, and so Frolingidae is the oh god, hold on, I can't spell it. It's just I almost get it right. So if you go on Frolingidae, right, on the Finches family, you can go on that, go on Wikipedia, and then you can scroll down and bear with. Let me get it up for you, and I'll show you. So you go onto that Wikipedia page, and then you can scroll down to where is it? Distribution hub. Is it taxonomy? Yeah. Okay. So then you go down to the first thing that comes up, which is under systematics and taxonomy, right? And then you literally go on there, scroll down, and it comes up with finch phylogeny there, and suddenly you've got the whole evolutionary chart of the finch family. It's brilliant. So I go on that, and then you just have to find which one it's in. So I go on that, and unless it jumps out at me and says sparrows, which it usually doesn't, there's a few which is like pearly bullfinches, and chloris, which is greenfinch. Then you have to have a look and see what it's in. Spinners, which is American siskins and goldies and stuff like that. And then I just go through there. I mean, it's one of those that's actually quite useful to use for hybrids. It's like working out a Hawfinch hybrid. I've worked out how. Okay, I worked out the hybrid I think is most likely to happen with a Hawfinch. I'm not going to tell you, work it out. You have to work it out with this because I want to do it first. And I am not a selfish person, but if I can get my name down as hell, he bred a Hawfinch hybrid, I'll take that. So yeah, right. Let's go on and let's have a look. House sparrow. Let's see what he's on. So the house sparrow's Latin name is. Come up. It usually comes up, and it's now not. Passer domesticus. Yeah, Passer domesticus. Right. So then, if you search that, it's clearly not in the same. It's clearly not in the same family, but it's not. I don't think it's far out, so it does work. Yeah. Let me just add some more things on here. I can see a screenshot where there's no injuries. That's fine. That's fine. Milliman. Hi Cookie plays. Where do you find it? Yep. View FYI. Sorry, I don't understand what you mean, mate. I'll go take a screenshot. Thank you, mate. Hi, all the best. Henty. Hi. Hi, all. What's the best hen to use a mule with? Adam. So I think there's three classifications of a mule. It depends on what type of mule do you want. Do you want a mule for exhibition? Do you want a mule for colour, or do you want a mule for song? Because you're going to choose a different type of canary depending on what the type of mule you want to breed. So for an exhibition mule, you've got to use a Norwich. A Norwich is the best canary you can use to breed a exhibition mule with. You've got the size, you've got the feather quality, and all of that, and the color of that, and it works out quite nicely. They complement each other nicely. If you want to do something like a mule strictly for color, and it just depends on the type of goldfinch or whatever finch you use. Mule for song, but like a nice clear one. Yeah, so Adam, clear mules are very difficult to breed anyway. You need a Chev goldfinch. So if you've seen a Chevrel, it's there's one here. It's got the beak, so the mask doesn't go around the whole face, and it cuts at the beak, and it's got this white section. That's your best chance of breeding a clear mule. Unless you get a pied goldfinch with white toenails, then you can also try and breed them from that. Fingers crossed it works for you. It's all right. I'm just having a look for the uh, how closely related this house sparrows are. Um, so you want a Chev Goldie ideally if you want a clear one or the closest to clear. That's your best option. Don't matter if it's for a mule for a song mule, you do want a native Goldie. Apparently Siberian Goldies don't sing much. I had some and they didn't sing as much as the native ones, but they did still sing. Apparently some of them don't sing at all. So you want a native goldfinch in Chev. That'll be the best one. And then for the type of canary, a lot of people use red-eyed canaries, red-eyed satinets, and obviously you want these. You don't want you don't want to be using a dark canary. You want to be using a clear one slash the red-eyed one, and that's your best chance of getting a clear mule. Fingers crossed it works for you, mate. You don't have to use that. I mean, just by using the Chev Goldfinch anyway, you're gonna get a variegated mule. But if you put a Chev Goldie to a red-eyed satinet canary hen or a red-eyed yellow dimorphic, I'd say that's probably your best chance of getting a clear one that's also going to be decent for singing. If you want to breed a mule that's just for song, like literally just for song, you want to use a Razor or an Irish Fancy or a small breed like is it Rylander or anything like that. A really light breed of canary will give you probably the best chance of getting the best songster in a mule. Right, let's have a look for the house sparrow then, and we'll see. I've seen reports of house sparrow mules, but it depends. I don't know where it's sat in the evolution charts. They're extinct, brilliant. Passus domesticus. Right, it's not in the finch family. It's not on the it's not on that set, so I'm not. I can't tell you. It'll be further out then. So from there, it'll be the super family, which is that's where it'll be. Passeroidea, which is the next class up. Here you are. Okay. So based on that, it's the house sparrow is passer something, and it's in the same superfamily as Frolingidae. So that's how you get them. But just remember that then gets quite big, quite different and stuff. So yeah, that's it. I imagine it's possible. I'm pretty sure people have bred house sparrow mules. If you've got a house sparrow, give it a try. We might breed something. Fingers crossed for you. And if you do, you got to send me photos because I'd love to see them. Because I've still not seen a photo. I've just heard reports of them. I mean, there was that person on YouTube who's put one up, and I think we looked at it in the last monthly live and the previous one to that, and there was no signs of them being house sparrow mules until they were adults, and these were youngsters. So yeah, I know that the message keep disappearing. I don't know why Muling Man. I'm not sure. I don't know if it might even put a limit on the comments, but I'll be surprised. Unless there's some, unless it's bad language, which I imagine it's not, because I know you know that. Then yeah. Put that with any Canary, sent you a message. Perfect. Thank you, Muling Man. I'll check it after the stream, mate, if that's okay. Yeah, nice one. That's thanks for that. I love them. There's no problem, Adam. Best of luck with it, mate. Give it your best shot. Your best thing, like I said earlier, is you get a Chev Goldfinch, and you're very likely to breed a variegated mule with obviously clear patches, and then you just kind of got to drop lucky to get a clear one. I know there's a chap in Ireland who quite often breeds clear ones, and it's usually from his red-eyed yellow dimorphic lines and with good Chev Goldie. So just try it best you can, and hopefully you get something. Handy catch a bird to separate them when they're in flights. I've got a net. It's a blue net. You can get them off of eBay. They're only a few quid. And it keeps birds calm. So I'll just go in there, and I usually just catch them out like that. But at least at the moment, I'm pretty fast with my hands on them. So I could usually catch them in midair, or if they go and fly into the front of the cage or something onto mesh, I'll grab it off the mesh, and I can usually do that, and they're all right. So that's I either catch them with my hands or catch them with a net, and I'm usually okay. There's a few that can be very difficult. So I think the worst thing I've ever had to catch, which was very difficult, was either a male siskin that I had when I tried to take him to when I'm taking him to a sale. He was an absolute nightmare to try and catch out that flight. And then a female crossbill. I could not catch her. They're so fast, crossbills, just like darts. And also because they're really quite solidly built. If you ever held a crossbill, they're not a light build of a finch. They're really quite solid birds. And I've had, I've got a crossbill and it's gone bang like that, gone through my fingers. I'm like, great, I'm now bleeding because a crossbill's had me its beak. I've heard hawfinches can be bad. Apparently their bites really. I know that obviously they've got a really strong beak anyway for cracking nuts open and stuff. I'd like to know what the PSI of that is, but I've seen injuries of people where they've been bit by hawfinches. I'm thinking, ooh, yeah, better wear some gloves if we get some of those. Well, when we do at some point. But yeah, I've seen some nasty injuries from hawfinches biting people. I know one guy had to come and get some stitches because it bit him on its stomach. It wasn't good. I think the rosefinch is called a house sparrow in Spain. And yeah, actually, that's an interesting one. If there is a cross community communication, cross language area, then that's different. But I imagine if it is, I think the rosefinch is still in the same family or it's close. So I can't see why not. I'll have to have a look. I find it interesting what capable of breeding hybridized. Remember when people said you could not cross a ball python with the Burmese, and then one day someone did it in the world went nuts for them? Oh, I didn't know that. I'm not on. I'm not like up to scratch on reptiles, amphibians, stuff like that. But yeah, I think the thing is right is that realistically the animals that are going to hybridize are the animals that are in the same family. Generally, you can get a bit further out than that, but it's not usually much further than superfamily to genus. Wait, no, sorry, I've gone the wrong way there. It's left my head. Bear with. Not been having a good day today. It's been absolutely shattered. Um, yeah. Family is so it to be order. Yeah, order. So you probably like to get hybrids in there because you're such into a massive range of things to went down into separate species. But yeah, I mean it's two pythons, so that'd tell me that they probably could. But yeah, that's interesting that you can cross them. Are they fertile hybrids, Elliot? Because I know it's like like falcons and stuff like that. So in that falconry sort of side, bird of prey, there's now a lot of hybrid falcons being bred. So it's getting increasingly difficult to try and get a purebred falcon. Because I mean, I saw one for sale the other day. It was like 700 quid. And it was something like 3/8 red-legged falcon, a quarter saker, and a bit of peregrine in it, and a bit of I'm like, how many falcons are we crossing together here? Because why people hybridizing with another hybrid, you're suddenly getting a peregrine that comes out not blue like it should be, but grey, and it just I think it ruins them. Don't get me wrong. I think in what we do with cage birds and stuff, like using red siskins, is fine because it doesn't alter the birds. It actually improves the birds, and you're breeding them differently like that. But in falcons, when there's people with a falcon that's got a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of other in it, you suddenly you're not you can't. It's like you're paying a premium for a purebred falcon that should not be a problem. Don't get me wrong. I know peregrines are like a few thousand quid, but it's still like I'd rather spend 2 grand on a purebred peregrine than a 700 quid on a falcon that's got is it red-footed falcon, bit of gear falcon, a bit of saker, and a bit of peregrine. And it's like, what is this? Unless you're using it for a hunting purpose, which is usually in most cases, that would never go anywhere near if I was breeding something like that because it ruins them and it just pollutes bloodlines unless and you shouldn't do that unless you have to. That's my view on it, at least. Um, you can pollute bloodlines with fertile hybrids. I think in the event that you actually have to, it's like extinct, endangered species for like critically endangered, where there's like, let's say white rhinos, right? There's northern white rhinos and the southern white rhinos. There's two female white rhinos left in the world, which are northern whites, right? But we're going to let them die out rather than cross them with a southern white um, because we shouldn't. And I see and I understand that we don't want to be polluting things, but we might as well put a southern white rhino in it and actually have some form of rhino and white rhino in that northern part of Africa rather than no rhino at all. That just removes a complete layer from the ecosystem, and then you're going to find that things collapse from there because there's no rhinos. It's not been that long since they've been gone yet, so we're not going to see the effects yet, but they could go downhill very quick, and then people going, oh yeah, we should have actually crossed them, or we could just release southern white rhinos there, but they're not going to want to do that. So it's really difficult. And there's positives and negatives to both sides of the argument, and so you've just got to come up with a realistic option that says we need to do this for the right reasons and for the benefit rather than our own benefit of keeping breeds pure when it's not always necessary to do so. Orphans are the worst to catch because they bite crazy. One bit of flesh on my finger. Jesus Christ, Jake. Yeah, I'm gonna say I've heard of stories like this. That's another one for me now. Yeah, I've heard it's bad. So when I've got to catch hawfinches in the future, I'll be wearing some gloves because I'd really rather not like lose something. Doesn't sound good. Oh, when's the best? When would you say is the best start condition linnet to put to canaries? Hi, Carl. So your canaries will be ready by March or April time. Your linnets realistically going to be May. Start conditioning from probably the middle of Feb. Get him ready for the beginning of April because it's captivity. Expect mid-April for him, and just so give him 2 months. Middle of Feb, get him in a flight or a big cage. Get him on some vitamins, fertility vitamins. Get him exercising, flying side to side and up and down because that really does him good. Loads of baths, conditioning seed, all of that sort of stuff. And then by mid-April, he should be raring to go, and you'll hopefully breed some nice mules off him. Rose finch is very close to the house finch. Are probably Fringidae. Yeah, I think you're right, mule and finch. I know that. I think is rose finch. Oh no, it's all right. I'm thinking house finch is Mexican house finch, isn't it? Usually, it's an American house finch. Essentially, it's just that sort of area. It is interesting. I've seen a house finch cross green finch at a show the other day. Sorry, at the show Newark show actually. Sorry, that was weird because the thing is with hybrids, I'm gonna have to try these hybrids at some point, like linnet greenie or siskin greenie or greeny red poll or something like that. Even though they're two effectively duller birds, I'd still like to try the hybrids. I think you can get a nice one. It's still good, and it's still worth showing. I know Owen Welsh had said, I think it was Owen Welsh saying like at one point you could go to a bird site, you could go to a bird sale as a novice, and you could pick up a nice show team of mules and hybrids for not much money because people would breed these siskin greenies and linnet red poles and linnets, siskins, and stuff like that. But now no one does. Everyone's apparently obsessed with bully hybrids, and I don't blame them. I love bully hybrids, and obviously I'm mainly going for it this year because I had access to some, and I thought, yeah, we'll try it. But I was going to do red pole greenie, and we'll have to see what happens. But it'll be one that's worth doing. Yeah, back on that with house finch, I had some house finches and never bred them. They were a nightmare. They just could not breed off them. Crazy. I think they call the rose finch a house in Spain. Yeah, I think we said that. Yeah, I think you're right. I'll have to have a look. I don't speak Spanish, so I'd have to try and get some translation in there with some Spanish people and try and actually, if we can get a Latin name for it, then it's sorted because that's just a universal thing. I'm not sure on Python, but the hybrid hawk, they don't know what type of hunting style turtles, but falcon it can improve hunting on what they cross with the environment. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean actually. If there's yeah, I guess a gear falcon is adapted for if not fighting, hunting, in the Arctic and in very cold places. And then I think the red-footed falcon is it. I want to say a Polmo falcon. Um, I could have got that completely wrong. Alpamado falcon, and there's all those types. So you get some desert falcons, you get some intermediate, let's say the peregrine, and then you get these really northern falcons like the gear falcon. So I see what you mean. If you cross a gear falcon with a peregrine with a Apolmo falcon, then you've got a bird that's sort of adapted and got that instinct for all three. Um, and you've got probably the best speed you're going to get from a peregrine hybrid. You've got the size of a gear falcon with the temperature control of a gear falcon for coldness, and Applemado falcon or Apolmo falcon for heat. So fair enough. It'd be interesting. I'd love some falcons, and it'd be something I will do at some point, as well as these birds. I absolutely love what I do, and I don't think I'll ever get rid of and not keep British finches and stuff. I absolutely love it. It's brilliant. It's so much fun. No nightmare. That's not really encouraging. Just got a pair of Feo house finch, and I'm going to try mule with a normal one. Hopefully they'll let me have a couple of chicks. Yeah, hopefully they do muley, man. All I'd say is they were a nightmare for me breeding them, trying to breed them in a mixed aviary. I could not get them settled. They wouldn't inspect nest sites, and I had them for the best part of 18 months. They wouldn't inspect nest sites. I couldn't get the pair even interested in each other. But that's because I bred them in a mixed aviary. And when I mean mixed aviary, I mean it contains zebra finches, Bengalese finches, canaries, weavers, diamond doves, cockatiels, parakeets, stuff like that. So it was a different environment for them. If you're going to cage breed them, I imagine you're going to get much more success because they're not actually, well, from what I've heard at least, in the UK. And when I bought them, not an expensive finch, so I don't think they'd be quite expensive if they were hard to breed. And apparently they're not. It's just because of the setting I had them in. They were a nightmare for me when I tried to breed them in an aviary. But best of luck with it, muley man, with them. And I imagine that with breeding them in cages anyway, they're fine. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see a house finch mule. I haven't seen. Oh no, sorry, I have seen one house finch mule, but it was a hen, so I hadn't a clue what a cockbird looks like. Um, I think I've seen. I think I've seen house finch. Again, this is photos of house finch, bullfinch, but there wasn't many. I think it was only a brief. It was like a rough photo of one, and I think I've seen. I want to say I've seen a northern cardinal bullfinch, but I really don't know. I think it was a northern cardinal bullfinch, or it was some cardinal cross some other finch that was similar. It was about 3 or 4 years ago. I've seen this, by the way. So yeah. What price do you expect to pay for twites and brambles? What are your thoughts on these? Twite, so twites, 250 quid, £200 a pair, something like that. Brambles, I imagine they're not far off a chaffee, but I'd expect to pay probably 120 to 180 for a pair of brambles. I've not had brambles. Again, something I'd like to try, but not yet. So yeah, you're probably looking at twice 200, £250 a pair. Brambles, call it 150 and around 150 for them. I could be wrong there. They could be cheaper than that. But for what when I've seen them for sale, they've not been cheaper than 100 quid, and then that's been an older pair. No, 55 for the pair and 10 for the male, so not expensive. Breed told me that the Reader's breed. I've sent you a photo of the house finch bullfinch a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, yeah, Muley man. I remember that now. The house finch bullfinch. That's right. Yeah. 55 the pair is pretty good, to be fair. And then 10 for the male. Yeah, I think when I had a pair, I only paid £30 for them, and they were a year old at that point. So yeah, I know that when I tried breeding them in a mixed aviary, it's a completely different setting for them. You know, that I bred Javas and Zebs quite easily. I bred diamond doves easily, and I bred cockatiels easily. Everything else was not an easy one to breed in a mixed setting. Now, you pair up canaries and it's fine. It's quite easy to do. So yeah, people love to breed house finch green for song. I tell you what, I'm up for it, Muley man. I'd be interested in that. If it's for song, I've not heard of that. But if they do get a good song, then fair enough, and that would be interesting. I'd like to see that. yeah, anyway, guys, this has been a brilliant live stream. It's now 10 o'clock. We've been on this for 2 hours. I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's come on. Hopefully you've enjoyed this as well, hearing a couple of the plans for the future, bit of the high behind the scenes. There's still, guys, I'm really hoping that in 2 weeks' time or just over, we might have got that special pair of birds. And they are just amazing, and it's going to be really, 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 really good. Yeah, I'll obviously, so next weekend, the next video on Saturday, next Saturday, I've not decided what it's going to be on yet, but it'll be something good. But on that Saturday, I am going to the Emirates FA Cup Chelsea game against Chesterfield. I am a Spyright, a Chesterfield fan, so I'm there on the 8th, Saturday the 8th of January. So that's next Saturday. 5:30 kickoff, so I'm excited for that. So that'll be my Saturday next week. But obviously, don't get me wrong, guys, you'll get a video out and stuff. And yeah, so yeah, well, massive thank you again, everyone who's donated, both to the fundraiser and on the super chat option. Massive thank you, honestly, it's so very much appreciated. Just thank you everyone for watching, and I hope you all have a good rest of your evening, a good weekend, and hopefully 2022, both the breeding season will be good, but just the whole year in general. Let's hope it's an improvement from last year. So yeah, well, guys, massive thank you once again, and I'll catch you all in the next one.